Hello, my name is John. I am a channeler, and I just wanted to make this video. This is the first video that I've made publicly. Normally, I only channel for friends and family, so this is going to be a first for me. The entity that I typically prefer to channel is named James. He came to me maybe 2 years ago. Whenever I was doing a meditation to inquire about the name of my spirit guide. And I asked for my spirit guide's name, and the name that came back was James. And so immediately I called my father and I asked, do we have a James in the family? Is this like my, great grandfather or some ancestor of mine? And what he responded was, we don't have any James in the family except James, the brother of Christ. And I thought that was a very Christian response of him. But anyways, I didn't like how that felt because it's always a bit of you don't know whether it's your ego that puts that into your mind or not. And for the most part, I don't want to be a person who puts something out there that I don't feel like is organic or is strictly motivated by the idea of ego, So I left that on the back burner. I left it alone. And my quest to find out who James was on, if you would. And so I tried a few other things to figure out which potential James this could be. A couple of meditations here and there. But what came back every time was James, the brother of Christ. James, the brother of Christ. Now, I didn't necessarily believe this. I figured my ego is just trying to get involved with the situation. And so I decided to just leave it alone for a while. And probably about 2 months later, I decided that I would entertain the idea that this was potentially the brother of Christ. And so I prayed to Jesus and I said, okay, Jesus, if this is truly your brother that is coming to me in the form of a spirit guide for me during this lifetime, I need you to show up for me in a big way that I genuinely would not be able to see coming. At the time, let me teach you a little bit about my previous life. I grew up Baptist, independent Baptist, popped around to a couple different denominations and settled on Baptist, where I spent I think that was from maybe 6 years old to, the remainder 21 years old. And then from 21 years old, I popped over to Pentecostal, strictly for my ex-wife, and after I had my divorce, I decided I wanted to focus on God, but the Christian thing didn't feel 100% real to me. There was just too many things that didn't make sense. And at the time, I was in college studying biochemistry. What I could put together of a biochemistry degree for the specific college that I went to. And so, I was learning a lot of the hard sciences, and a lot of these things are very atheistic. And so, I sat down and I prayed. I told God, okay, it's not that I don't believe you exist. I know that you exist, but there's just no proof in my life that you genuinely exist. And the reason for that is because in Christianity, there's miracles and things like that, but there's also a lot of hate, a lot of judgment, and a lot of hypocrisy that goes along with the miracles. And so one of my biggest questions is, how can the biggest of hypocrites be, living a miraculous life, and so a lot of things just didn't seem right, didn't seem fair. The way Christianity was portraying God didn't seem right for me. But it was simply that. I'm not here to bash Christianity. I think it's a beautiful religion that does a lot of good for a lot of people, but it just wasn't right for me. So what I started focusing on was praying to God to show me a path that led me directly to Him. I didn't care for any religion. I didn't care for anything. I didn't care where it took me. Just take me on the path that leads straight to you. And so that ended up leading me out of Christianity onto my own spiritual path. So if you want to know anything about me, I don't subscribe to any specific religion or any organization or anything like that. I'm very much my own being, having my own spiritual walk with God, and it's been the best, and I felt more connected than I've ever felt in my life. So back to James, I decided to ask God, okay, so at that point I was very much not Christian and not studying any sort of Christian books. I still had my Bible and a couple biblical books that I had, but nothing along the lines of what I used to have. So I decided to ask God, if this genuinely is James that's coming to me, send your your supposed son. I guess at the time I still looked at him as his son. I said, send your son Jesus to show me that this is genuinely what's going on in my life, that it genuinely is James that's approaching me. I want to see a picture of Jesus. And at that point, I, very much didn't have a picture of Jesus anywhere, in my house, anywhere. And so I went on my day. I went to go get, I think a few days later, or maybe it was it was the next day. It was the next day. And I went to go get a massage and some healing work done. And after that, the conversation that we had was, you should study Chinese Qigong. Qigong is just the manipulation of energy and how you can do it with your breath and how you can do it with your body. And so I decided, okay, well, let me go pick up a book on Qigong. And so we went to the bookstore. I went to the bookstore. And I went to the bookstore and looked around, couldn't find anything, asked the teller if he could point me to the books that have Qigong, and there was only 3 books in the bookstore that had any sort of information on Qigong. And so I decided, you know what, this book feels right. I don't know why this book feels right to me. So I decided to go with a very specific book and put the other 2 books back. And whenever I started flipping through the pages of the books, a picture of Jesus came out and fell onto the table of it. And I kind of took that as my sign of, okay, well, I can now entertain the idea. And so that's simply all I'm here to do. I'm here to entertain the idea that it could potentially be, not that it 100% most certainly is, but in the sessions that I've had with friends and family, they seem to be very profound, and so they seem to be very profound for the person who I'm channeling for. And so, I wasn't telling anybody that I was channeling James. I was just telling them that I'm just going to channel my spirit guides, and so, it kind of depends, who I'm channeling for. But sometimes I'll channel James, sometimes I'll channel my spirit guides, their spirit guides, or just connect to oneness as best I can and channel from a oneness perspective. So, but I just wanted to channel today and see what comes through. So, one of the things that I know is coming up is the election. And of course, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fear. And I just wanted to close my eyes and allow James to come through and speak on the matter. And just see how that process goes. So, the way I channel, everybody channels a little bit differently. I put on a little face cover just because I like to keep my eyes open while I channel. And this allows me to be in complete darkness while I keep my eyes open, which is pretty interesting. But that's just the way that I channel. When James comes through, he tends to laugh a lot. And so I can already kind of feel him coming through now. He tends to laugh a lot. He's a very giddy personality. And apparently he's about ready to go. So I guess he's pumped. So just wanting to let you know that, to expect that you might see light flickers and things like that. He's a pretty powerful energy. And so we're going to get into it. I'm going to let James come through. And we're just going to... I can already feel him. He's a very lighthearted person. He loves to laugh a lot, but he also tends to move a lot. So I'm going to put this right here. That way it doesn't fall. Make sure I don't knock anything over. So we'll do this, and we'll see what happens. So first, I always like to start off with a word of prayer, just to make sure that everything that comes through is divinely guided by God and no other being. So, God, I pray that as we go into this channeling session, that your pure love and your pure light cleanses the space, cleanses my being, so that James, the brother of Christ, may come through and speak to our audience here. And now I pray that any entities that may be attempting to distort this connection, may you send your angels to hold them back, and may your pure love and your pure light flow through me to my audience. Thank you. Okay, let's get into it. So it shouldn't take me too long to allow James to come through. Hello, how are you? It's good to see so many of you. So yes, my name is James. I am the brother of Christ in my one incarnation, but that is simply my most, my most popular incarnation. In other words, who we are in our past lives genuinely does not matter. The matters the most is who you decide to be every second of every day. So I say here, very simply, that your identity of what you used to be is not matter. The identity of your soul is what matters, because the identity of your soul is what is embodied into your body, but the identity of your soul battles with your ego. You see, when you first incarnate onto this plane, the ego has to fight. It has to fight in order to survive, has to fight with its siblings, it has to fight with its environment, it has to fight with all that is, whether it be school, your parents, or whatever it is that may be threatening your ego. Your ego is one that comes and forms your persona, but your ego is not your soul. It is a very small aspect of your soul. We have to put into a percentage of what your ego is as far as your soul goes, we would liken the incarnation of your soul into your body. In 100% ego, we would say maybe only about 3 to 4% of that would be your genuine soul. Now, your genuine soul is what comes out whenever you see something like a loving moment, you say, when you look at your baby. Your ego completely melts away in that moment that you look at your newborn child, and all that you have is the purest form of yourself, because that is that you are is pure love. And when you look at your child, you are not filled with judgments, with anger. You are filled with the essence of your soul. And so we would say, in the moment that you lay eyes on your newborn child, we would say it is closer to 85% of your soul brought into your being in that very moment, before it is that you decide to go back into your ego. Other things, other ways that you can bring your soul, your very essence of being, into your physical body are through things that allow you to melt completely into your being. One way that we look at that is when one decides to play with a puppy, when one decides to grab a baby husky that we're showing him. We grab this baby husky, we push this baby husky up against our face, and our ego melts away, and all we are in that very moment is that of pure love. And in those situations, we can see as much as 50 to 60% of our soul brought into our physical being. So what we say is, in order to get through these very next 5 to 6 months of chaos that will ensue, what we say is, remember that at the end of the day, it is a war of egos fighting other egos, and nobody actually knows who they are. And we are in a state now where everyone is fighting who they are from their perspective, with the complete unknowing that who they are fighting with is themselves. And it's funny. It's so it's funny to see, yet sad at the same time, that a person will fight with themselves. You see, whenever you go to the grocery store and the clerk in line is taking longer to scan your groceries, you see that you see the customers or the other fractals of you getting absolutely upset at the clerk and being frustrated and angry. What we say to do is, instead of picturing a clerk, put a mirror on the clerk and see yourself. And now when you stand in line and you think to yourself, I hate, what's a strong word some of you people decide to put on the situation, I hate, what you say is you look into a mirror and you see yourself in the mirror, and rather than deciding, oh yes, I am going to be completely annoyed and frustrated with this individual, you will see yourself in that individual, and rather than being frustrated, you will be filled with compassion and think to yourself, I can remember a time when I was slow and people were frustrated with me, and rather than coming at the point of the frustration, you come at it of a point of compassion, understanding, and knowing. And this is the point of God. This is the point of what God is. God is unlimited, passionate love that will never be impeded, that cannot be stopped, that cannot have reins put on him, though humans have tried for thousands of years. We've shown John that the love of God is like that of an unlimited spring in the middle of a desert, and anybody can tap into that spring and be filled with the water and the cleansing energy that love is. However, what humans try to do is to put a fence around that. That fence around that is very frustrating for the planet, because that fence around is man's attempt to control what cannot be controlled. you see, everyone has inside of themselves innately a connection through their hearts to the Creator. This is your birthright. We say that the love of God pouring into your life is your birthright and never stops to shower into your being. The love of God is constantly showering the entire planet, the entire solar system, at all times, at all moments. And it is funny to see that how we have tried our best to get that to come across. John immediately thinks to himself, why do you refer to yourself as we? The reason why I refer to myself as we is because there is no such thing as me. There is no such thing as I. This is the form of the ego, and so though I say I am coming as James, the reality is that we are all one, we are all connected. Thus, there is no I, there is only we. There is we and there is God. To go anywhere and see anything as there is you and then there is me is a fallacy of the fabric of the world that you are currently incarnated in. You see, the way that we have created this planet for our experience of the darkness is so that we may enjoy the light much more brightly, but at the same time to be the separation from God that for some reason those incarnated on this planet has decided to experience. We don't understand why humans want to experience and why certain souls want to experience being separated from God, but we say that the reason why we come down here, certain individuals such as John and others, is to try to point their fingers back to God and say, do you remember? Don't you remember? Don't you remember? Don't you see? Can't you remember that there is no such thing as you and me? Can't you see that there is no such thing as me hating my brother? The only thing that is existent whenever you decide that you hate a person is that you hate the person in the mirror that you look at, because you cannot hate a person until you completely love yourself. When you love yourself, your hate for self and your hate for others completely dissolves, because hate is an energy and it can only come from within, as my brother said many times ago, and once again I refer to as my brother to clarify, when in reality I would normally just say we. The phrase is, as within, so without, as above, so below. This is to say that you are, as you are on the inside, is what you see on the outside. Some people see miracles because they believe with their heart miracles are possible. Some people see miracles as an everyday reality because they believe in their heart that miracles are an everyday reality. Some people believe that there is no hate in the world because they have no hate within themselves. And so you see that your belief systems are what creates your reality. And so we say for the next 6 months, these concepts are going to be more imperative for you to understand more than ever. You will have to understand that the egos are clashing, the egos are fighting, the souls are not fighting, the planets are not fighting, God and the souls of those individuals are not fighting, but you will see a lot of fighting and a lot of chaos, and there is a reason for that. The reason for that is because the chaos is driven from the individuals who have decided to incarnate with this potential idea that we are separate from God and that we are just small animals existing on a planet aimlessly, which is unfortunate circumstance of the process of incarnation onto this planet. But we say with all the love in the world, we say, no, it is impossible for you to be disconnected from God. It is only possible for you to close your eyes, close your heart, and ignore the constant stimulus of God's love pouring into your life. It is not as the religious sectors have designed the fences around that spring in the desert. It is not one that, yes, God does love you completely, but in order to fulfill or accept the love of God, you must accept, and the acceptance ritual of allowing God's love into your life is to say these words, to believe these beliefs, to perform these actions. No, we say that in order to allow God's love to pour into your life, you simply look up and open your heart, and God's love will come flooding in. So, greetings, we are back, or as you may decide to say, oh, he is back. Why do you see that he is back? Why don't you say, I have returned, we have returned, because that is what it is. Anyway, we do not want to drag this on forever, as we genuinely could go on forever. What we want to say is that for the next 6 months, you will see utter chaos. You will see chaos in financial systems, economic systems, religious systems, and it will be what some may like to call a true storm, and that is correct. It is going to be a genuine storm, but do see that at the end of the day, your connection to the divine is all that really matters, because when you are connected to pure love, when you are connected to the beauty of all that is, it is impossible to be in a state of fear. You realize that the control of the population is done through fear, because how is it that you get lambs to go into a pen? You get a sheepdog. Well, if the sheep are not afraid of the sheepdog, then how can the sheepdog control the sheep? The sheep have to be afraid of the sheepdog, and the sheepdog may do things like biting the leg of some sheep in order to instill fear into the sheep. And once fear has been instilled into the sheep, now the sheepdog can go around and corral the sheep into specific places that the sheep need to be in the eyes of the sheepdog. What we say is that your government systems are going to be doing the same things. They will be instilling fear into you in order to put you into a place that they want you to be. And what we say is disconnect from that fear and connect to the unlimited, loving, divine presence of God that exists for everyone. And you cannot be in fear, because when you are in perfect love, fear cannot exist. As Jesus said on his way out of the incarnated plane, he said he left us with one divine message that essentially wraps up the entirety of his teachings. He says, I leave you with one commandment, that ye love one another. And he could have said, love one another, but he could have made that statement to include love all, and just leave it at love all, because at the end of the day, we could shorten that phrase even farther. We could say, I leave you with one commandment, love. And that is it, because at the end of the day, you cannot be controlled when you are in perfect love. You cannot be scared when you are in perfect love. You cannot be manipulated when you are in perfect love. And so we say the beauty of you and the beauty that exists within for you is that of pure love. And so we say that in the connection to the divine, in the connection to the spirituality and the all that is, we say that in love you will find your stability, you will find your patience, your peace, your kindness, your compassion, your love of self, your love of another. We say, why is it that you hate yourselves? Why is it that you judge yourselves? Because you see yourselves as the ego sees yourself, but understand that you are not you. You are simply a being that has decided to take form in this state, but you are not that. What we say is that you are the beauty, the energy of the divine incarnated into this beautiful vessel that you decide to call the human body. And we say with all the love in the world that you can do this, you can move past this, you can get through these next 6 months of chaos. You can do this by reconnecting to love, by reconnecting to opening your heart and allowing your heart to make some decisions. As you know, your heart is filled with neurons, and many people do not know this, that your heart has neurons in it, and there is a reason why the body is created with neurons inside of your heart. The reason for this is so that you may make decisions with your heart, and that all of the neurons that are in your head are, would say, 90% in order to sustain the ego and to allow you to make the critical decisions in keeping you safe. But now we say, now is the time to turn on the neurons in the heart and to allow those to permeate the body with the signals of love. And we say that God will beam in through your nodes in your heart and allow the electricity of His love to be the heartbeat that decides to run your body, as this is the process of how God's love comes into your being. And so we leave you now. We leave you with love and the divine connection of all that exists. And so last thing we say to you is love, 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 love one another, love yourself, love the animals, love the vehicle that you have, love the house that you have, love the dirt that you stand on, love the old clothes that you decide to donate, love the food scraps that you decide to throw into the trash can, love the trash can, love the plastic lining in the trash can, love every atom, every being, every spark of light, every photon, every electron, every neutron, every quark. We say to love, because at the end of the day, that electricity, that energy is the vibration of love. Because when you decide to break apart all of creation down into the smallest atoms and nuons and quarks, what you see is that the quarks themselves can also be parted, and that the quarks themselves are also just vibration and energy. And so the question becomes, at what part can life be broken down to a single point? We say it cannot be broken down into a single point, because God is infinite and God is within all that exists. And this is the reason why the hydrogen experiments, such that of the double slit experiment that John has studied so much, we say that the observer effect is very much the energy of God. The energy of God is of the ocean of all that exists. And so we say that yes, God is, He is omniscient, omnipotent. He is everywhere. You can feel His body by touching yourself. You can spit out His body by spitting on the ground. You can insult His body by yelling at your neighbor. So for this reason, we say that love one another, love all things, be gentle with all things, and be gentle with each other, because when you yell at each other, you are yelling at the face of God. When you scream at each other with hatred, you scream at each other, you scream at the face of God. And so what we say is love, love, love. When you love, you reconnect, and when you reconnect, you are, and when you are, That is very simply it. You are, right? As the Moses used to say, I am, and as Jesus has said, I am. And because when you are, there is nothing else. There is I am, and that is it. And now we leave you. Okay, bye. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, so that was James. Very familiar energy to me. It depends on how much he has to say. Sometimes when he feels a time crunch, he'll speak faster. And, I give him a time crunch because I don't want these videos to go on for an hour and a half because he'll let them. But this is just the first video. If you have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask him, leave it down below in the comments and I can make videos on that. And, we'll just see where this goes. I don't necessarily think that he is the only being that would like to communicate through me. And the reason why I say this is because while I was channeling him, I felt another being standing behind me that also wanted to communicate through me. But his time will come, maybe. So, okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed the what he had to say. I'll have to go back and rewatch it to kind of to see kind of what he said. So yeah, sorry for the camera disruption. So I got to figure that out. So, but yeah, I hope you guys have a blessed day, a wonderful day, and okay, goodbye, cheers, see you later.